Good afternoon, everyone. This is Naishad Gadani coming to you from Melbourne. And today is 177th episode of Career Care Package. And on today's episode, we are talking about interview tips, how to win interviews, how to really convert those interviews into a job offer. That's what we are talking about today. And to help us, we have invited someone all the way from his name is Dre, and he runs a company called Job Search Queensland. And you would have seen Dre. He produces some really amazing, but very lively and very energetic. He's got a really great style of presenting content and ideas, and that's what we are going to be, unpacking these interview techniques with Dre. If you've got questions or if you've got interview coming up or if you know someone who's got interview coming up, tag them here because you will do a world of favor to them. As we say, interviews is more like swimming. The more that you swim, the more competent you become. Interviews are like that. It requires certain amount of practice to become competent as well. So it's okay if you're failing in the interview because you end up learning in those interviews anyway. So before we start to speak to Dre, let's welcome Caroline Brown.
Thanks, Nation. Dre, it's great to have you here. I just want to correct you on the analogy about swimming because I was swimming for a long time and now I have to go to the physio because I didn't have a coach. Like I was swimming with bad technique. So there's a very good point, and that's, I guess, why we're glad to have you here today, Dre, to talk about the 3P's and to interview success and what you need to do to be successful. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Firstly, I just want to say a massive congratulations to you two. So what you've been doing over the past several months is unbelievable because it's so one like going live and then being consistent every day and then sharing your knowledge, value, and experience with everyone is so hats off.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing.
We'll take all the praise we can get. So just keep it coming. So tell us about the work. What's the work that you do with your clients and how do you serve them?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of things that I do. So just recently in the last few weeks, I've niched down into helping sales professionals get into their ideal job in the shortest time possible. So that's really my sweet spot, and my background's in recruitment and sales, and that's what I love. There's also I know that if you know Jo McCarthy, so she's my business partner. So we've developed a program called Help to Hire, which is a 6-week program to take people from where they are to where they want to be. So it's a job strategy. So it's really for everyone. But what I focus on and what I really love is helping salespeople.
Yeah. So why salespeople? I would have thought that salespeople are great at selling themselves. So what challenges do they face on the job hunt?
Yeah, not always. So I had a client, it would have been last week, and she was working for a DIY company, and she wanted to kind of step up onto to that next level. And she's great at what she does, but she wasn't able to. She's a bit shy and wasn't able to kind of communicate or effectively communicate her value. So that's what I try and get the best bits, those transferable skills out of people, so they can they can talk about their skill set, their achievements, and their experience as well. So I find that salespeople are great at selling, say, a product or a service, but they're not always self-aware and they can't always sell themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think most people, if they talk about their interview skills, they say, I'm not great at selling myself. And often they think it's like, I have to beat my chest. But as you say, you're talking about self-awareness. It's like, what is it that I'm actually really good at and how can I prove that? And how do I know that that's of value to someone else? So tell us about the P's, the 3P's. We've been promising people 3P's, 3 gold nuggets for you. So.
Okay, but this is my baby. So I've just simplified it. So the 3P's are preparation, practice, and performance. So if we look at preparation first, and we start at the top, the first thing that you should do once you're going into a job interview is research. So start researching the industry. So you can look locally, nationally, and internationally as well. Then I'd look down at the company. So looking at their mission, their vision, their values, their products, their services, what charity organizations they're involved with. Look at their annual reports, their like stock price, and things like similar to that. Next, we look at their competitors. So exactly the way that you've researched that company that you're going to be interviewing is the way that you should interview. I'd go with the closest 3 competitors. And what you want to look for is their USP. So for anyone that's going, oh, Dre, what's a USP? It stands for unique selling point. So find out what it is that differentiates that company between the company that you're going to be interviewing. And that's just a great way to ask questions when you go into the interview as well. Next, this might be a little bit controversial for people, but it's stalking the interviewer or the people that are going to be on that interview panel. So the first place that you should start is like LinkedIn. So have a look to see if you've got any mutual connections. Have a look at their work history, and what you might find is that you've got some people in common, and then you can approach that person that's in common and say, look, I'm going for an interview. Are you able to give me a bit of background information on either this company or this person? And then you'll have some key sort of insights as well that you can use to your advantage. Also, definitely, I'd say look at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, MySpace, anywhere else, or even Google, and just find out as much information. So what I like is building rapport. So I believe that building rapport is just key if someone's going to hire you or if someone's going to buy off you. So let's say, for instance, you're doing research, you've looked on LinkedIn, you've seen a picture that they've had a golf day. It's a great conversation starter at the right time when you're building rapport, and just say, when I was doing my research on the company, I noticed that your stock price was this, and, these are your products and services. And I saw a picture of you, playing golf. Like, how often do you play golf? Where do you play golf? What's your handicap? Whenever I'm talking about golf, I always make a joke that I'm the handicap and that I can't really play. So, I love my dad jokes. And that's just when people love to talk about themselves, and they love to talk about things that they love. So after stalking the interviewer or people that are on the panel, have a look at the people that are going to be working in your team, and that's a great way to get a feel for what the culture of the company is going to be like. Also, this is I'm not sure how, sometimes I can talk forever. So another one is knowing your resume inside out. So if I can just take a quick sort of detour and just tell you about a situation that I had. So I used to work for a company called AAPT. So I was selling telecommunication services, and one of the best jobs that I've ever had. And after 3 months, I got promoted into a secondment. So I was a telephone account manager looking after, say, 450 clients. When I got promoted, I was a face-to-face manager, and I only had 10 clients. So I was looking after customers such as St. John's Ambulance, Ray White Corporate, Foxtel, just some really big companies. And that was probably one of my favorite roles that I've had. And I got made redundant due to a merger with TPG. And at the time, I got a nice little payout, and I thought to myself, I'm going to take 6 months off. I've been working really hard for the last 10 years or whatever it might be. And then there was a recruiter called Vanessa Hartwell, absolutely beautiful lady. I think she's based in Sydney. She called me up and she said, Dre, look, I've got an opportunity for you, which is literally, so I live in a place called Fortitude Valley, or just on the edge. And it's probably about a 5-minute walk from where I am. And she was like, I've got a great opportunity for you, similar to what you were doing before. I think you'd be great for it. So at the time, I'm not going to say that I was arrogant, maybe a little bit. So I walked into the interview. I didn't prepare. And as salespeople, so this is a hard lesson that I've learned. I walked in there, done the building report, had a bit of an intro, and like the director of the company said, "Yeah, take a seat." Asked me a few questions, and then he said to me, "Oh, what's what are your like sales figures?" So I said, "Oh, like my clients, they spend like $500,000, every month on their services," and that was probably about it. And he was like, "Okay, yeah, go on. Can you tell me what your percentage was year on year, or all these like questions that." I was like, I just couldn't answer them. And then, no word of a lie, so this is a true story. After about 5 minutes, he basically stood up and was like, "Get out! I want you to get out now." And I basically got my stuff, and I was like, "Okay, thank you for your time." I walked out, and then probably about 10 minutes later, I called like Vanessa, the recruiter, and she was like, "Oh, that's strange. You're calling me. I thought you should be in your interview." And I was like, "Yeah."
That went well.
I was like, I don't think it went very well. She's like, "Why not?" I was like, he shouted at me and told me to get out. So from that day forth, every interview that I've had since then, I've made sure that every detail on my resume that I know inside out, especially like your sales figures. And for salespeople, you need to know your numbers. You need to know your figures. So, sorry, I think so that's more of the story. So back to where I was. So research the competitors, and also, and Shad, you mentioned this like yesterday about making sure that you read the job description thoroughly. That's so important. Can't stress that enough. All right. So the next one is preparation. If we look at preparation, I always say to practice your interview answers. However, you don't want to practice them like word for word. So maybe 3, 4, 5 bullet points, and then just do that over and over and over. So if you've got a coach, if you've got a friend, if you've got someone that like an actual human, that you can either, depending on the climate, do it over Zoom or like face to face. I love like face to face contact. So I'd love to be with you guys, just like talking and just feeding off your energy. So what I recommend to people, what I suggest is, not a lot of people like to be on camera. So get your phone out and then just record yourself about 10 times. Just go over and over and over. And you're going to see a massive difference from when you first start to when you finish as well. So preparation's key. Also, I forgot to mention, you need to dress to impress. So you only get one chance to make a great first impression. Say, for instance, you're on Zoom. Make sure that you're wearing pants. So just in case anything like happens, and like you've got to get up. Yeah, so make sure you're wearing pants. And I always tell people that actually dress the way that you would if you were actually going into a real interview. So, like for me, like when I used to interview a while back, I'd always overdress. So my tip would be to dress 20% better than what the actual industry, recommends. So with me, I've always been in sales jobs. So in Queensland, we're slightly more relaxed. So when people go into interviews, they either won't wear a jacket, but they'll wear a tie, or they'll wear a jacket, but no tie. So with me, I'd wear my jacket, I'd wear my tie. I'd get to the interview, I'd be sweating. I'd always get there probably like an hour early, and I'd be like really nervous. I'd calm myself down. I'd look at my CV, look at my notes, read the job description, and then I'd gather my thoughts, and then I'd walk in there, and the first thing that I'd say, or one of the first things that interviewer would say, because in Queensland it's like most of the time it's like 30 degrees. He or she would say, "Oh, are you not hot? Do you want to take off your jacket?" I wouldn't, because I'd have like sweat. I would say, "Look, I'll just take off my tie and then keep my jacket on." Right, so preparation. So yeah, being prepared. So being prepared for interview questions that you might be asked. So there's so many questions, but there's probably about 11 to 15 of those common interview questions that you can prepare for. And also practice. I'd say practice your body language, like your communication style as well, and also questions that you're going to ask the interviewer. And then the last P is performance. And how I look at it is that you've done the preparation, you've done the practice, which equals increased confidence, what you've got, how I look at it, it's the Olympic finals, the 100 meters. You've done all of the work. All you need to do is just turn up and give it like your best shot. And, you know, anything can happen on the day. You might get beaten by, you know, someone that's better than you. And a lot of the time when you're getting feedback, I believe that you don't always get the real feedback from, if it's a recruiter, they will tell you the truth if they know. But sometimes when it's the hiring manager, they don't really want to give you that, I guess, that honest feedback because they're worried about like hurting your feelings. So with performance, it's, you know, having techniques that you're able to calm your nerves. There's a technique called box breathing, which I'll just share this really quickly with you before we move on. So box breathing is a technique that the Navy SEALs use. So, you know, they're all out doing like crazy stuff, fighting wars, and they'll suck in air for 4 seconds. So they'll hold it for 4 seconds, and then they'll blow out for 4 seconds. And they'll do that about 5 or 6 times, and then that will calm you down. So there's lots of different like techniques like that.
Wow. I think anybody listening to that would get another P, and that's being pumped. Dre, I think that's a fantastic analogy. I just want to, I know Naisha's got a lot of questions, but just something I want to sneak in there. You know, the act of recording yourself and recording yourself and recording yourself, what does that do? I mean, I think you get more confident as you go along, but then you don't have to remember that stuff, do you? It's kind of embedded in a part of your brain. Is that the sort of thing that it does?
Yeah, perfect. So repetition is the mother of skill. So the more that you do something, that's just going to be ingrained, like in your body, like in your soul. So to give you an example, so if anyone like came to my room or like my bathroom, they would think I'm crazy. So whenever friends come round, I've got motivational. You can probably see, you might be able to see some of it on like this side of the wall. But yeah, I've got like incantations and affirmations and everything that I say to myself just to, because you know, there's going to be days when you wake up in the morning and you're not really feeling your best, but if you've got a routine and it's just a trigger, so once that trigger goes, then you know, okay, it's game time. It's time to start my day. But yeah, totally agree, 100%.
Yeah, if I can ask about the preparation part, one of my client, what he did was, he reached out to somebody who was previously working in the organization to get a intel about the organization that he was being interviewed for. Because it was a very small company, 10 people company. It was appearing for a sales role. So we brainstormed, how do you get, you can go through the website 10 times, but you don't really get anything more than what they've said, right? So we decided that why don't you go out to somebody who had similar roles in that company, but he's no longer working there. And I think that's another way for you to find the intel required, because a lot of the things is around the cultural knowledge of the company. What do they really value? Do they value creativity? Do they value innovative approach? Do they value honesty? Do they value reliability? I think knowing that from somebody, and I think does help you to kind of position yourself and align your answers towards what they want to hear, rather than accidentally aligning the answer. So I think that's another kind of strategy that you can look at doing. And so next thing is around the before I forget, I think there's a company who has now started to, they've come up with a fashion line for video for working from home, and it's actually a short. It's actually I forgot the name of it, but I saw that they had the men and women clothing line for working from home, so that even though accidentally something happens, you are still kind of covered. You're not. suddenly find yourself embarrassing, and you become, you're on viral on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere. So look at that guy. What happened? Right. So I think there's something I don't know, but I'll find out the name of the company and put that through. So,
I'd love
so
to hear that.
secondly is around this video interviews. Obviously, since last 6-7 months. Previously, it was kind of used to happen very scarce, but now it's become normally. So what are your tips and strategies around virtual interviews, Dre?
Oh, okay, so you remember the very first one was wear pants. So that would be like number one. Next would be, this is so important as well. So I'm very conscious that when I'm talking, so I'm looking at you, but you also need to actually look into the camera, because then it's like, oh, they're actually looking at me. So that's so important. You've got, I want to give you a couple that probably most people won't say. So you've got like the normal one. So making sure, so I'd never have a job interview. You can see my background is pretty busy. So I've got stuff all over the walls. So I change my background, or maybe go, like somewhere else. Lighting. So like if you've got like a ring light or some sort of lamp that you can shine coming this way to you, then that's gonna make you look a lot more beautiful. So I probably need one right now. Noise distractions. So if you've got any kids, pets, making sure that your phone's on silent. So those are probably some of the common ones that we all sort of hear. However, I want to give you this tip. You're probably thinking, Dre, a bottle of water. So sometimes if you're having a face-to-face interview, or if you're at home and you've got a drink, don't have a tea or a coffee. Just have a glass of water or a bottle of water. And there's a couple of reasons for that, because you're going to be like quite nervous, and it's a great opportunity to sort of take a break. And this is what I love as well. So say, for instance, I'd actually do this as well. So I'm warning you. So if you guys are going to ask me a difficult question, this is what I'm going to do. So I'll be like, okay, yep. And then I'll take off the lid, like slowly. I'll be thinking about what you said. I'll take a sip. I'll put it down. And then by that time, fingers crossed, I would have come up with an answer that I'd be able to give you. If not, I'd say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't quite get that. Can you repeat the question? And then hopefully in that time, then I should have had enough time to come up with an answer. So those would be, some of my tips as well. Well, actually, can I give you one more? So just one more really quickly. So you're probably noticing that I'm standing up. So a couple of reasons that I stand up is to release tension of my diaphragm, and I feel more confident, I appear more confident. And just personally, like with me, like when I sit down and like say we're having a great conversation, I can get really into it and just get really relaxed, and I'll just feel like, which is not very like professional whatsoever. So that's the reason that I stand up.
I've noticed a big difference between me standing up and sitting down with these interviews. So sorry, I'm hearing a bit of echo as well, but I'm not sure where that's coming from. It's gone now. It's Naisha. It's gone on mute. So one tip, I mean, I loved all your tips, but one thing I wanted to sort of go back to is that research around the competitors. I think that's genius, because it really helps people clarify why you want to work for that particular organization. And you could bring it into the interview and say, the research I've done has been A, B, C, and D, and what really stands out for me is, you're here. So I think that's an absolute genius piece of research that people can do. So have you found people find that really useful?
Yeah, definitely. So how I look at it is that like for a company, so there's two reasons why a company is going to hire you. So the first is, they're looking for someone to solve an issue, a problem, or a challenge. And then second, they're either looking for someone to help with the growth of the company. So that could be, for example, sales and marketing. And for someone to hire you, they need to know, like, and trust you. So you need to be able to build rapport. You need to be able to demonstrate that. And you need to show that you can effectively communicate your value. So what is it that's going to make you different? Or why should a company hire you? So you need to be able to articulate your skills, your knowledge, your experience, and your achievements. However, you need to do that in a professional way and also a personable way. So I can't. So I go on about this all the time. Know, like, and trust. So that's what people need before they're either going to hire you and either buy something for you. So they're going to base that decision on emotion. So they'll think, oh, this Dre is he's such a great guy. Like, there's something that I love about him. And then in their head, they're going to be validating that with logic. So they're going to be thinking, we'll have a checklist. Yes, he ticks that box. Yes, he ticks that box. Oh, he doesn't actually have this particular skill set. However, he seems like a competent guy. So I reckon he can pick it up pretty quickly as well. So trying to get all those things across. So hopefully you would have done all of the pre-work. So you're just really going in there into the interview as a consultant, and you're just having a conversation. So back and forth, asking questions, and then, you're thinking, okay, is this the right company for me? And they'll be thinking, okay, is he the right fit for our team, our culture? Is he going to cause any problems? Is he going to be able to do the job? Is he going to be able to add value?
Yeah, and also I think the another theory is around how quickly do they make the decision. Is it fairly quickly in the interview process do they make the decision? Because it's like when you go to a barbecue, or when you go to social function, you chat with someone for 5 minutes and decide yeah or nah, but I really want to continue to have a chat. Does it happen in the interview? And because you've been a recruiter also, so you've sat on the other side frequently to make that judgment. Tell us about that. Is it a fair understanding of the interview process?
So we were talking about this yesterday on a webinar, and I completely agree. So I believe the first couple of minutes of meeting someone, that's when they're going to say, do I like this person? Not too sure. But in an interview, it's those first 5 minutes where I believe that you'll win the interview. And if you're in that position and you have, it's just a case of you saying the wrong things to talk yourself out of getting the job. So at the beginning, the know, like, trust, building rapport. If you can make people feel really good, and they trust you, that you'll be able to come on board and do the job really well and add value. That's key.
We had Jeff Altman from the US on about a month or so ago. He calls himself the big game hunter. Yeah. And one of the things that really hit home for me, because I used to do it without thinking about it when I was interviewing people, was that kind of that fit, right? So if you look the part and you sound the part, then people aren't sort of going back and forth in their mind about whether you actually fit. That decision's taken care of. So you're believed in that kind of scenario. So that sort of fits into the know, like, and trust. And I thought that was really insightful, because I remember when I used to recruit, I used to have this thing about whether I could just, say for example for a call center, whether I could see them in a call center, actually picture them in that job doing that every day. And if I couldn't, for whatever reason, then it was really difficult to believe what was, no matter how good their answers were, I was always going, can I see them? Yeah. And I was always making that decision in my mind versus just listening to what they were actually saying.
Yeah, do you know what? One thing, absolutely love Jeff Altman as well. So I remember at the start of COVID, I used to listen to all of his podcasts as well, and I watched your episode where he was on as well. So absolutely.
And the Scooby-Doo impersonation.
Yeah. Absolutely love you, Jeff, if you're watching. Can I just give you a quick question, just because you've just reminded me something on what you said. So at the end of the interview, or if the interviewer says, look, do you have any more questions? You can say, for someone to be successful in this position, if we fast forward 12 months, okay, I'm just going to rephrase that question. So for me to be successful in this position, if we fast forward 12 months and look back, what would have to have happened within those 12 months for this position, or to me to have been a success at the job role? So there's a couple of things that are happening. So like one is what you were saying, Carolyn, is that you're going to be thinking, or the employer's going to be thinking or imagining you in that position, like doing all of these things over like the 12 months. And it's just a great way for you to find out exactly what they've said. So make sure you take a mental note or have a notepad and pen, write that down, and then feed that back to them in their own words. So just say, so from my understanding, for me to be successful in this position, I need to do A, B, C, D. And there's so many things that are just happening at the subconscious level.
Yeah, they're picturing you there, and it's, you're connecting it back and you're using their language. It's, fantastic tip. Okay, so comment or question from Barlin. If you keep recording and rehearsing, will your answers seem fake to the interviewers? What are your thoughts on that?
So don't rehearse word for word. So you just want to have, 2 or 3 or 4 like bullet points. So it's going to be something where if you meet someone at a networking event, or if you're at an interview, it's just going to be something that's just going to slide off your tongue. So it's going to come across like really natural. So you don't want to, rehearse word for word and sound like a robot, because nobody likes robots. So it's that human connection. So I've got a little, I won't tell you now because it'll go on for ages, but I've got a little spiel that I say whenever I meet someone. So I'll just tell you just a little bit. So whenever I used to introduce myself to someone, I'd say, hi, my name's Dre. And they'd be like, Dre? D? And they'd never get my name. So then I was like, right, my name's Dr Dre, but without the doctor. And whenever I say that, everyone's like, oh, okay, I get it. Dre. It takes them a little while. But so wherever I start my introduction to people, it's always, I've been in Australia for, 12 years, originally moved over for an Australian girl and blah, 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 blah. So I've got a spiel that I say, but it's not word for word. It just flows and it just changes depending whoever I'm talking to. So hopefully that answers your question, Alan.
Excellent. Now, talk to us about the salary negotiation and what are some of the tactics that you can use? Because one of the frequently asked questions is that I don't know what should I ask for, right? So what to those people who are not sure what should I ask for? Because obviously in COVID-19 times, a lot of us would want to just work and get the money, in the bank rather than worrying about if I get $10,000 less or not, right? But tell us about some of the salary negotiation tactics that you found very, very practical, and rather than putting yourself into that, being pressured to only accept certain, because there's also another one that if you accept less salary, then you're going to regret that. Say, oh God, I'm going to work for this company for this much money. I have to travel for 1 hour, and then you're switched off even before you started. So tell us about some of those tactics, Dre.
Do you know what? I've probably got 4 or 5 that I want to give you that are just like absolute gold. So I'd say the first place to start is, doing your research on what the industry is paying and what someone with your skill set. So you can look at Seek, you can look at Glassdoor, there's pay.com, but I think that's an American one. So making sure you do that would be the first one. Also, when you're speaking to recruiters, be very honest with recruiters, because they don't want to waste their time and they don't want to waste your time. And like normally there'll be, like a ballpark figure, and you can kind of, work it from there. I just want to give you some really juicy ones, and we can go into those in a bit more detail. So today is Thursday. So the best days of the week to do salary negotiations. So if you've received an offer and you're like, it's a little bit low, So the best days to negotiate are a Thursday and a Friday. So they've actually done studies on this. And that's because it's winding down to the weekend. Everybody's relaxed. They're thinking, I'm going to go to the beach. It's going to be amazing. And, they're just, so they want to tie things up. So that's my first one. The next one is, absolutely love this one. So say, for instance, there's a job that's, you want $90,000 for the job. So when you're doing your negotiations, write back into the email or however you're going to do it that I'd like, this is just an example, so $98,627. So when the employer is going to, or the hiring manager is going to receive that, they're going to be looking at that and they're going to be, okay, this is very specific. Very specific. So what that comes down to is perception. So they're going to be thinking, oh no, this person's really done their research, even though you might not have, but hopefully you would have. So absolutely love that tip as well. And another one for you is when you're negotiating, always ask for 10 to 20% more than you actually want. This is what a lot of people, I'd probably say 80% of people don't do, is because they're scared that they might lose the job. So how I look at it, if you don't ask, you don't get. And they've actually made the effort to give you a formal job offer on paper as well. So just going back to the first two that I mentioned, like being open, like with like recruiters, legally, you don't actually... I think some places in the world, people don't need to know your previous salary. So it's not like a legal requirement. So I talk about what your expectations are, but you need to be realistic as well. So I absolutely love recruiters because they're day to day, they're in the trenches, they're speaking to employers, they're speaking to candidates, and they know like the market value. So they are just a great resource.
I love that.
Really
Oh, you go, Nash.
No.
I love that thing about, the specific, oh gosh, I've knocked my table. I love that thing about the specific number, because it really does look like you've put it all out in a spreadsheet and you've done your calculations and you've come up with 27 cents at the end of that. So no, I think that's perfect. Just on salary, like if you're concerned, when should you ask? Because some people, like you assume sometimes that you're in the hands of a professional company or a professional recruiter who doesn't want to waste their time if you're way out of the ballpark. And sometimes salary doesn't get mentioned until the end of the interview. Like when should you ask? Is it something that you should ask the recruiter at the start if you're screening, or wait until you go through the process? What's the
so if it's a recruiter, definitely ask for salary expectations for this particular role, just so you do save time. For young people, or say for people that are in getting their first entry level job and they're not going for a recruiter, but they're with say like a hiring manager, my big tip for you guys is to, because it's your first job, don't mention salary until the employer brings it up. So if you're just starting out on your career, then you want to be thinking, okay, what skills, what knowledge, what can I gain from this position? So that's what I'd say for young people. For people that are more experienced, I'd want to know upfront. So you should know upfront salary expectations. So when it comes to the end, and you're not going to be like lowballed by like say 20 grand. So it might be like 5 grand or 10 grand. However, this is a really great tip. So even though they might give you an offer and you don't get the amount of money that you want, there's other things that you can negotiate on the package or the compensation. So you could ask for, maybe 1 day off a week or 2 days off a week. You can ask for extra holiday. You can ask for like maybe a bigger car allowance. So it doesn't have to be on the cash. And if you work out your personal finances and, really work out what your bottom figure is, then you can work from that. Does that, hopefully that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that's more personal for the individual versus the company. So it's not their money that they're spending often. So there's more emotion attached to the individual than the person, actually offering the job, basically. So, yeah.
Excellent. I think that's pretty much it. We have run out of questions, but Dre is not run out of energy. And please connect with Dre. You can, you can find, Dre online. He runs a company called Job Search Queenston. He organizes challenges as well for you to really up your game about job search and interviews and everything else. So Dre, again, thank you again for joining us. It's been absolutely pleasure to host you.
Sorry. Can I say one more thing? Can I give a gift to your audience, to your viewers? So last year I wrote a book. So it's like my first book. I never ever thought I'd write a book. So the book was about interviews. So what I'd love to do, I'm going to update this because the 3P model isn't in there, and there's a few other things. So if anyone wants a free PDF copy, so there's so I'm not trying anything, so it's free. So I'm just so it's just.
Are you sure?
Yes. I don't want any trouble. So it's a gift. If you want a PDF, more than welcome to have it. Because I'm going to be updating the book over Christmas time as well, so there'll be a new version out. So also I just want to say a massive thank you. I've really had so much fun, and you guys are just doing phenomenal things, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. Nashad and I are not shy about asking for subscribers. So if you like what you see and you've watched some great guests like Dre, please subscribe. Please follow the hashtag Career Care Package. Tomorrow it's Ask Us Anything. So Nash and I will be fronting up, taking the hard questions, and hopefully enlightening the world.
Absolutely, that's our job. And tomorrow is going to be a hot one in Melbourne, so you can come along with your Kool-Aid, with the beer, with I don't know, juice or something. But we'll have a lot of fun tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow 3 p.m. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and yes, you can avoid wearing mask outside when you're outside of the home. But again, Dre, thank you very much for joining us, and everyone, bye for now.
Bye, everyone.